July the 4th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at an update that's been out for 39 minutes now at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In this morning's video, we were talking about we were watching the wind shear, moving everything basically north and northeast up the Atlantic coast. Now, with this update on the spaghetti models, I'm a little concerned about something that happened during Hurricane Helene, and people are not recovered from that yet. And the storm is centered right here in this gap where these lines start. Now, the two most important is the one right here, the very pale green one, and that's from Canada. It shows it coming into the Georgia coast. The other one is the Navy model, the most accurate, and it is this purple line that comes up through near Charleston into South Carolina. You have one other model called the HMON that comes up into actually North Carolina. Again, when we get up in this area, anytime I go into the Smoky Mountains, we stay in Cherokee. Been doing it for 25 or 30 years. I haven't been up there since Helene. And even when we've been to D.C. twice, we stay in Cherokee because from my home, it's 500 miles there, and then it's from there in Cherokee, it's 500 more miles to D.C., so it breaks it up pretty well, and you have a beautiful mountain drive coming up over Clingman's Dome and headed up into that way. But back to the point, you still have some highways that are not finished. You have a lot of infrastructure that's gone, and with this thing pulling inshore this quickly, then that means you may have a lot more rain than we originally looked at, because again, I was looking at what the wind shear was doing and everything and pushing out into this way, maybe coming up into North Carolina, somewhere in that area. But now they're showing, again, two hooks, one from the Navy model almost directly towards the Florida-Georgia line. Same with the Canadian model. It's just a bigger loop. See that? So that's going to dip it back in across the Gulf Stream, and that's warmer water. It's going to pick up more moisture and more strength. Now, guys, look at this very closely. And I'm going to start getting on top of this a little better for the next few days, because the flooding capability of these tropical systems can be devastating in the mountains, especially when your infrastructure is already weak. Now, I've seen some videos, guys, to where they pretty much had to carve out new highways, but they've come a long way in some of those places. And if you don't have a good road, you can't get in and do anything, infrastructure, building, anything. You got to have that first. And it looks like since Trump got in, they're not skipping all the red homes, which mostly that's what that is anymore. And maybe FEMA will never live that down. They shouldn't, and the people that did it should be prosecuted. Anyway, we got to watch this. Let's take a look at the current satellite images. Now, as we look at the nation for a moment, first of all, notice we're really picking up a lot of this forest fire smoke coming through here, and you can see where it's concentrating in between these two fronts and being pushed down and out to sea here. It was thicker than that yesterday, but again, that's still enough. Anyway, Texas, you still got problems here. You got flooding there in Texas right now. Some highways are underwater. I saw some rescue efforts earlier. Guys, up here in the northwest, this may be much needed moisture, I'm not sure. But if it will get on up in this area where some of these wood or forest fires are, that could help a lot. But again, you've got moisture coming in here. But this right now is, well, really, if you got a tornado in this section, guys, it's just as dangerous as a Cat 5 hurricane, just in a smaller package. And you've got this hurricane offshore here. Let's move in a little closer to the storm we're watching. And guys, you can see where the high pressure has dipped down in here. Right now, it is 86 outside, 85% humidity, 102 heat index. That's why we need these storms. But Texas, you're getting rock and rolled again. But notice how quickly this rotation is developing this morning, right through there. That's showing us the top left side of the storm right there is in still drier conditions. The storms are right here to the right of the center and back to the east. So if they're saying it's going to push back into shore, That's what it looks like. And then your Canadian model bringing it into the Florida, Georgia, very close to that area. The Navy model bringing it up into South Carolina through here. So any of these mountainous areas, guys, you've got to be ready for this. It's like a hurricane shock, like we get down here after Camille or after Frederick or any of the big ones through from Florida to Texas along the East Coast. But you kind of get into a shock and you remember these things, and I think that's the way God wants it. Once you get slapped in the head with something as devastating as Helene in the mountains, you never forget it, do you? Let's look at the infrared. Now, again, Texas, this storm is starting to sink towards the Rio Grande Valley here. Notice that. But again, you are getting, I think it's Kern County, if I'm not mistaken, that's got the flooding right now. But again, this high pressure area is here, and we're trying to get a little bit of moisture pulled in from up below the Great Lakes right now. Now, here's going to be the problem, and what you see in these tropical systems is they will form, they will strengthen up, then they will recycle. Maybe that's what we're seeing right here, a little less intense, but also some of the tops are being stripped off and pushed back. If it's at the top, it's being pushed into the Atlantic. If it's being stripped off of the east side, it's being pulled back into the storm from below here. Anyway, my main point was, guys, this could be another large rain and flood system going into some of these areas of where our friends are in these mountains. Now, with any storm like this, you have the plus and the minus. You're looking at water vapor. Of course, look at this, Texas. Check that out. And Florida, this is going to build up in the heat of the day right here, and it's going to be pulled in to this system. And as long as this tail is dragging out over Cuba and down into the Florida Straits, it's going to be pulling moisture across Florida, storms with it as it moves to the north. But again, water vapor here, there's a lot there, not as much as in Texas, but that's about to, looks like, get back out to, or closer to the Gulf itself. Very dry air in the orange and the yellow. Maybe we'll get a break in it. It's warm, it's humid right now here. It has been worse. The ground is still moist from the deluge we had a couple of days ago, so I can't complain about that, but it does create humidity. Again, I'm going to be watching this. This will be Chantel right here when it's named. We had Andrea, we had Barry going to Mexico. Andrea faded out into the Atlantic. And now this will become Tropical Storm Chantel. Probably today, because the hurricane hunters are either scheduled to or already have left to go out and look at some of the more details here. We're going to be watching it. If it cuts back in like they're saying, we're going to go to some webcams along Georgia and Myrtle Beach, through those areas like we always do, North Florida, and get some live looks at it. One of the main things on a storm like this, again, is not, a large category hurricane, we don't think, but the intense amount of moisture. And you're going to have water spouts, rip currents, tornadoes on land, okay, and the flooding. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. I want you all to be safe. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend. I'm not trying to scare you off the beach. I just don't want you to get hurt. Heads up. Be safe.